Apparently, the people at CNN have a real problem with this. Some of those financial people really have a real stunning problem with this. You know, we talked about Aaron Ross Sorkin, heading down to Occupy Wall Street because some bank CEO told him to. Here's the piece. I hadn't heard this part about Erin Burnett. I know she had tweeted, but I didn't realize she has a segment called Seriously? Am I wrong? I mean, because I never watch Saturday Night Live anymore, but is that... Do you watch Saturday Night Live? Do you watch Saturday Night Live?
I do. That sounds to me like a certain segment on SNL, yes.
Isn't that like, what's his face is...
Yeah.
I can't remember his name.
Yeah, Seth Meyers.
Right, yes. He has a thing where his whole joke... It's named on Friday, but...
That's still a lazy conceit.
That's more like a radio conceit. Like, that's something I'll do. Like, seriously? You know, that's his joke setup. And so she does this, I guess, thinking like, well, if he does it, boy, she's bad. She's bad. But aside from being bad, she also seems to be, well, I don't know. I guess the jury's out. She's either an idiot or just a huge liar. And I'm going to go with, well, there's also could be just enormously lazy and too self-satisfied. It's probably a combination of all three. I'm not sure if we see all three in this clip, but let's play this clip. This is Erin Burnett. This is just a day and a half ago, I guess. I've completely lost sense of time. Erin Burnett headed down to Occupy Wall Street. She shot, like, look, we were down there. We saw this guy who's in this clip, actually. He was hanging out when we were interviewing Naomi Klein.
He was probably standing a foot from Naomi Klein listening into our show live.
Yeah. Yes. And are there people there who look a little freaky or wearing funny glasses? Yes. And I would say the percentage of those people relative to the entire size of the crowd is somewhere between 1% and 3%. So here is Erin Burnett doing this serious report. She goes down there and she really fakes out this ad sales guy or this former marketing guy or computer software developer. But let's listen to this clip.
Now for a story that made us say, seriously? The Occupy Wall Street protest entered its third week today. What started as less than a dozen college students camping out in a park near the New York Stock Exchange is now hundreds of protesters, and it's spread to other cities. But what are they protesting? Nobody seems to know. So this afternoon, we went to Wall Street to find out.
3 weeks into this, she's saying, and nobody seems to know? When was this? This is 2 days ago, right?
Yes.
And she's claiming that nobody seems to know. She apparently has either a very limited social and news circle. You know, I mean, she could have said, like, some people think they have an idea. Or there's some places where you can say, but nobody seems to know. Nobody. 3 weeks into it. That's stunning. In fact, I think you'd be hard-pressed to find somebody who could actually say, nobody seems to know anymore. You know, I mean, if she had done this 3 weeks ago.
I mean, even that bank CEO who told Andrew Ross Sorkin to get down there seemed to have a better grasp of what was going on than
That's a very good point. That's a very good point. Maybe she should get Andrew Ross Sorkin's, Rolodex and call that bank CEO to ask him.
And despite what you heard, here's what I saw. It's not just a bunch of dancing hippies protesting. There are all kinds of people there. Babies, teachers, cheerleaders, Uncle Sampta, and
that. She was talking about human being, incidentally, if you're not seeing the picture. But aside from that, you see the sort of the rhetorical little game she plays here? It's not just a bunch of hippies. There's also a bunch of other freaks and teachers. Right? There's cheerleaders and and teachers. So it's not just hippies, folks. I don't want you to think I'm judging. It's not just hippies. There's also a bunch of freaks and teachers.
Seriously, it's a mixed bag, but they were happy to take some time from their books, banjos, bongos, sports drinks, catered lunch. Yeah, there was catered lunch.
Oh my God, not catered lunch. You mean people have to eat?
Oh, there's a catered lunch as opposed to what? It's not a home-cooked meal that they're doing in the park. I mean, there's no Bunsen burners there. No, they bought pizza from across the street, or people sent them pizza. It's not catered lunch. It is stunning. Keep going.
I also like how she says banjos like this. Banjos? Like she has no idea how to say the word.
Right. Weird instruments.
Designer yoga clothing. That's a Lululemon logo. Computers. Lots of MacBooks. And phones to help us get to the bottom of it. This is unemployed software developer Dan. What do you do for a living?
I'm a software developer.
Software developer.
Yes.
So currently employed or unemployed?
Unemployed.
Unemployed.
Unemployed, we like to call it.
Unemployed.
It's called Occupy Wall Street.
So do you know that taxpayers actually made money on the Wall Street bailout?
I was unaware of that.
They did. They made, not on GM, but they did on the Wall Street part of the bailout.
Okay.
Does that make you feel any differently?
Well, I would have to do more research about it, but...
If I were right, it might.
Oh, sure.
All right. This person is, and this is where obviously she's just lying or she's just stupid. And I would imagine, and these things aren't mutually exclusive, to be fair. She could be lying and she could be stupid. She could be willfully ignorant. But she really wanted to go down there and prove how clueless these people were. There's no reason to be mad at Wall Street. Now, GM, on the other hand, you could be mad at GM, but not Wall Street. Which I got to say is fairly coincidental, because here's a statement by way of Will Bunch and Brian Hickey of the local Independence Tea Party, and what they have to say about Occupy Wall Street. Because the implication here that she's saying is that bailing out the banks was a great idea, but GM, we didn't make any money on that. But wonder where she got that concept from. Wonder where she got that sort of like that. I don't know if I would call it a talking point. The idea that Wall Street is the root of all evil is also an anathema to us. Like any other institution, Wall Street has its corrupt figures, and such individuals should be dealt with accordingly. But to condemn Wall Street en masse is akin to condemning our entire free enterprise system. Our association deplores corporate bailouts. GM. They're talking about GM. Corporate subsidies, Solyndra, and corporate welfare. Now, of course, we know that Solyndra and any solar subsidies are literally 2% of all the subsidies we give to energy, whether it's $50 billion for nuclear power, for another $10-20 billion for coal, and another $10-20 billion for oil subsidies. But it's the $500,000 loan, or the $1.5 million loan to Solyndra. That was the big problem. At the same time, however, we recognize the contributions and achievements of America's Chamber of Commerce. She's parroting the talking points of these Tea Party people. I guess that's not to be surprised.
Seriously? That's all it would take to put an end to the unrest. Well, as promised, we did go double-check the numbers on the bank bailout, and this is what we found. Yes, the bank bailouts made money for American taxpayers right now to the tune of $10 billion. Anticipated that it will be $20 billion. Those are seriously the numbers. And this was the big issue, so we solved it. In fact, the only reason we haven't made all the TARP money back is actually GM. But I don't see any protests in Detroit.
So there it is. And GM probably, I think we're going to see the money. In fact, I think if you look at market capitalization, we probably have made money. We just haven't sold all the stock in there. But that's aside from the point, because she conflates bank bailouts with TARP. Yes, TARP was one element of the bank bailouts, but there was TALF, which is that short-term asset-backed securities loan facility, which essentially, there was a whole series of different instruments that allowed banks to borrow money from the Fed at 0% interest. And then what they did is turned around and loaned that money back to us at 1, 2, 3, 4% interest by buying U.S. Treasury bonds. So in other words, and we've talked about this many times, Matt, let me borrow $10. Okay, you give me $10. And you come to me and go, hey, can I borrow $10? Sure can. Just give me $11 tomorrow. You give me that $11, and then I give you back the 10 that I borrowed from you, and I have $1. And I've just made $1 off of you, Matt. And you, in this instance, you are the taxpayer. Apparently, Erin Burnett, didn't she work on like CNBC? Didn't she work for like some financial channel? She couldn't figure that out. We also know the billions of dollars that was sent to AIG was basically a slush fund for other banks, particularly Goldman Sachs. We also know that we allowed the Bank of America to sell a bunch of their crappy mortgages to Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. So there's anywhere, I mean, the figures range from anywhere from like $1.5 to $3 trillion that have been spent on these bank bailouts. So the notion that it didn't cost any taxpayers any money is ridiculous, but that's not even relevant anyways. Because even if the bailouts cost no money, even if we made $10 billion on the bailouts, we still have a completely broken financial system because of the excessive leveraging and speculation these banks did, and it has destroyed the economy. There are, depending on how you calculate it, over 20 million people unemployed. There are millions of people whose mortgages are underwater. There are millions of people who have been subjected to mortgage fraud. There is ongoing mortgage fraud. So forget about the bailouts. Wall Street ruined our economy. Ruined our economy. The financialization of our economy is ruining our economy. The income disparity is ruining our economy. But Erin Burnett found it more convenient to just reduce it down to, did we make money on TARP?
You know, I find it interesting. If you're watching the video, which I'll probably put this one up on our YouTube for the day, you can when she asks him a question and he says, "Well, it's called Occupy Wall Street." There's a really quick clip of the park being on Liberty Street, as if to laugh at them, saying, "Well, you're not on Wall Street, you're on Liberty Street." It's like little things like that. If you throughout the whole video,
Right.
there's little things like that just
You couldn't sit
peppered
down.
throughout.
Yeah, you couldn't sit down. If you were making a hit piece on this, you couldn't sit down and do it better.
And they found a supporter who, unfortunately, I mean, not everyone is going to be as knowledgeable on all this as some, like, for example, that guy who took down Fox News, Jesse LaGreca. This guy, unfortunately, he just didn't know as much as maybe someone else knows, and they went out of their way to find someone like that.
He was smart enough to say, you know what, I don't believe you. Let me check, let me check. I need to do more research on it.
Yep.
But if I wasn't lying and a shill for the banking industry and was telling you the truth, would I be right? Oh, we solved it. What a moron. You know what? I'm going to make a prediction. Those people are going to be in that park longer than she will have a program on CNN.